Good morning, students. Today we will be discussing certain questions which are sequel to the previous two lectures on Dr. C.V. Raman, the celebrated genius. Here we will try to understand certain important questions. Now, the first question that is displayed on your screen is, why was the voyage C.V. Raman undertook in 1920 is important in his life? Dear students, as you know, the voyage was important in his life because when he was crossing the Mediterranean Sea, he wondered why its water has such a dark shade of blue. When he was crossing that Mediterranean Sea, he wondered why its water has such a dark shade of blue. He started research about this apparently simple question, and finally he got success. It was this very research that won him the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1930. Okay, now another question. Raman was just an average student at school and college. Is this true or false? Give reason to justify your answer. Now this is with regard to Raman's, whether he is average student or he is a genius student. Okay, students, now see this. Raman was not an average student at school and college. He was never an average student. He was very brilliant, intelligent, and very efficient student. How you know? He passed his matriculation at the age of just 11 years. And he was only 50 years old when he completed his graduation from the Presidency College Madras. Now you call it Chennai. You can understand at 11 he passed matriculation and at 15 he did his graduation. Another, why could Raman not pursue higher studies abroad even though he was very keen to do so? This is that type of question where Raman himself says that I failed. This is the first exam where he failed. Now try to understand, this is, where he's satirizing basically. Though Raman was very keen to pursue higher studies abroad, but he was disqualified by a British doctor or on medical reasons. He was disqualified by the British doctor on medical reasons. Now see, the doctor told Raman that he would not be able to bear the severity of English climate. Now, why he disqualified him? He told him that he cannot tolerate the climatic, atmosphere of England. That's why he disqualified him. While satirizing, Raman said, in his one of his notes that this is the only exam where he failed. Okay, dear friends, now see another one. Give an example to show Raman's interest in science did not lessen even when he started working as an accountant general. When Raman completed his master's degree, he took a job in Kolkata as an assistant accountant general. When he completed his master's degree, after that, he took a job in Kolkata as an assistant accountant general. But his interest in science did not show any sort of decline. He used to spend most of his spare time in mornings and evenings in the laboratory of Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. You know, Otherwise he is having his job, but his interest does not lessen. It is because he is working there in the laboratory, for the entire period. Now, another question is, why was there no Indian flag when Raman was awarded Nobel Prize? How did this affect him? Dear friends, as you know, India was under the subjugation of Britishers. Therefore, there was no flag. And the effect of that was very simple to understand. He felt very humiliated. He was very sad, and sad to that extent that tears started rolling down his cheeks. Now see the answer of this question. Nobel Prize was awarded to Raman in 1930 for physics, and at that time India was under the British rule. That is why there was no Indian flag. When he saw himself under the British flag, he was so moved by emotions that tears started trickling down his face. That happens, when he was receiving Nobel Prize. Now another question is, Raman was proud to be an Indian. How does this manifest in his personal life? Raman was proud to be an Indian. He would wear a closed coat. He would wear a closed coat and a turban till his last breath. He did not give up his traditional Indian turban in favor of a European hat. While receiving Nobel Prize, all the Europeans who were staying there were having European hat, and there's only one person from India, that is Dr. C.V. Raman, who is in Indian turban. The world was not slow to recognize the importance of C.V. Raman's achievement. What are the other important awards he won apart from Nobel Prize? We have already discussed, let us try to understand it further. Apart from Nobel Prize, C.V. Raman was conferred many other prizes. He won Bharat Ratna in 1954, an International Lenin Prize in 1957. He was given knighthood by the British government in 1929. He was also made a Fellow of the Royal Society, London in 1924. Now here you can understand, how much achievement Raman has, and Raman was an extraordinary person. This is from the text. I can understand the difficulty that most of the few graduates have to face. How was this possible for him? Now, this is the lecture that is delivered to the Agra University students. I can understand the difficulty that most of the few graduates have to face. Raman himself had experienced a very tough and hard life. He had experienced poverty. He had experienced misery in his life. His life was not all milk and roses. Milk and roses, very comfortable life. His life was not all milk and roses. Out of his personal experience, it was possible for him to understand the difficulties being faced by the most of graduates in India in those days. Now, another question see on your screen is this: I admit success in life is always to the intelligent or the strong. This is the normal, procedure. What are the other qualities, according to Raman, bring success in life? Raman was of the opinion that success in life does not always come to intelligent or strong. Sometimes this happens. You have an intelligent person, you have a very strong person, but even then, he is not successful in life. It is to some it is to some extent a bit of gamble. What according to Raman? It is to some extent a bit of gamble. To be successful, what one has to do? One has to get one's mind right and know one's job well. One has to get one's mind right and know one's job well. Then a person will become very successful in his life. That means right mind, and one's role is very important. Now, very important question that is on your screen: what was the Raman's philosophy of life? Now, what is his philosophy of life? Raman's philosophy of life was very simple. He was of the view that we should not get disappointed if we do not succeed in our life at the first attempt. This is according to Raman, that we should not get disappointed if we do not succeed in our life at the first attempt. We should not lose our heart. Rather, we should continue efforts. Now, what is important is to continue efforts. We should face up life and take it as we find it. We should enjoy the common things in nature and life. He wanted us to appreciate the things that we see around ourselves. That are, if you talk of the things that we see around ourselves are quite natural. And he's according to Dr. C.V. Raman, he finds some sort of oneness in nature and science. That's why it is very important to appreciate each and everything that is made by nature. Okay. Three or four qualities of nature inspired Raman all his life. What are they? Raman appreciated nature. It was the nature and her qualities that inspired him all his life. The wonderful bounties of nature, her marvelous ingenuity, her resourcefulness, and her infinite variety or other qualities that inspired him. Another very important question. Raman had unusual view about patriotism. What was it? His view about patriotism is quite different from the view of others. C.V. Raman had a really unusual view about patriotism. According to him, patriotism is the love of the earth. Now, you have to understand it. Patriotism is the love of the earth. It is earth and things that grow upon it that makes life possible. The love for land means the love of the earth. The love for land means the love of the earth, which has borne us and which sustain us. Which has borne us and which sustain us. The idea of earth transcends the idea of national and international borders. By loving earth, we will be able to love all. Now, dear friends, you can understand, his view of patriotism. He's not, uh, thinking like just, we have the approach regarding patriotism. According to him, see, it is the earth and the things that grow upon it that makes life possible. Therefore, what is important? To tend the earth, to nourish it. The love for land means the love of the earth. If a person has love for his land, it means the love of the earth. And what happens? Which has borne us and which sustains us. Now, the most important thing, the idea of earth transcends the idea of national and international borders. When you love earth, what happens? You are in fact transcending the idea of national and international borders. It means you are able to love each and every person over the entire globe. Now, see another question. Why did Raman fail to impress his teachers when he joined Presidency College? As when he was doing his graduation. Raman completed schooling when he was just 11 years old. He joined the BA course at Presidency College when he was the only 13 years old. He joined the Presidency College. Being young for his class, Raman failed to impress his teachers with his appearance because he was too young. In the first English class that he had attended, Professor E.H. Eliot asked if he really belonged to the junior BA class. If he really belonged to the junior BA class, means he was young to that extent. No other student in his class was as young as Dr. C.V. Raman was. That's why he failed to impress his teachers. What made Raman say of the civil surgeon of Madras? Now, this is very important statement. Civil surgeon of Madras. I shall ever be grateful to this man. Now, see, this is very important question, and this is apart from your text. Raman was suggested to prepare for Indian civil services examination by his teachers. They insisted him that he is capable and he will do it. Raman had undergo a medical examination to take the ICS test. By the civil surgeon of Madras declared him medically unfit to travel to England, and that is very unfortunate. Now, what happened? The civil surgeon of Madras declared him medically unfit to travel to England. This was the only exam Raman failed. And he would later remark in his characteristic style about the man who disqualified him, because at that time he simply put the attempt behind and went on to study physics. And Dr. C.V. Raman, in a very witty style, remarked, I shall ever be grateful to this man, to the civil surgeon of Madras, who declared him medically unfit. But he did not lose his heart. Now, another question on your screen. Why was the day when Raman walked into the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science a historic moment? Why it is considered to be a historic moment? The day when Raman walked into the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science a historic moment because the building that became the laboratory where he and his team performed the legendary experiments on light. Right? Now here you have Raman effect and other things out of this particular laboratory. That's why it's considered to be you know a very important historic moment. Outline the subject of first research Raman conducted in IACS. Now, what was his first research in IACS? The first research Raman has chosen was studying musical instruments. First research, on musical instruments. He explained the working of the actra. The working of the actra. He developed several ideas that he called remarkable resonances. He took up a violin for study and developed a way of characterizing the quality of the instrument. This was the first time a scientific understanding was established, and it is used even today, right, on the music. Okay, dear students, I'm leaving you here. We'll meet you on another